A sudden, shrill alarm pierced the silence of the Elysium, jolting Commander Jack Lawson awake. Unidentified object approaching at high speed, the automated voice blared. Lawson's eyes snapped open, heart racing. "All hands to battle stations," he barked, his voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through his veins. "This is not a drill." The crew of the Elysium scrambled into action, the hum of engines and clatter of equipment filling the ship. Lawson's mind raced as he made his way to the bridge, the familiar thrum of the ship's systems, a comforting background noise. "What's the situation?" Lawson demanded as he entered the bridge, his eyes scanning the room. Lieutenant Mark Darrow, the ship's tactical officer, was already at his station, fingers flying over the console. "We picked up a large object on the radar. It's moving fast and it's coming straight at us." "Identify it," Lawson ordered, leaning over Darrow's shoulder to get a better look at the screen. Darrow shook his head, frustration evident in his voice. "The sensors can't make heads or tails of it. It's like nothing we've seen before." Lawson frowned, his mind working through the possibilities. "Prepare to bring it aboard. We need to know what we're dealing with." As the Elysium maneuvered closer to the mysterious object, the crew worked with practiced efficiency to secure it in the cargo bay. The object, now visible on the external cameras, was a massive pod covered in intricate designs, its surface pitted and scarred from untold years in the void of space. Dr. Harriet Voss, the ship's lead scientist, joined Lawson in the cargo bay. Her eyes widened as she took in the sight of the pod. "This is incredible. It looks ancient." Lawson nodded, his curiosity piqued. "Let's see what's inside." With a hiss, the pod's hatch slowly opened, revealing a chamber filled with advanced stasis pods. Lawson's eyes widened in disbelief as he saw the figures within. "These are human warbeasts," he whispered, awe and recognition mingling in his voice. Harriet stepped closer, her breath catching as she examined the pods. "I've read about these in old archives. They were created during the last days of Earth, designed to protect humanity's final stronghold." Lawson turned to his crew. "We need to wake them up. If these warbeasts are as powerful as the legends say, they could be the key to our survival." The activation sequence began, the low hum of ancient technology filling the chamber. One by one, the warbeasts stirred, their eyes snapping open, glowing with a fierce intelligence. They were humanoid in form, yet far larger, their muscles rippling under tough, scaled skin. The largest of them, standing nearly 3 meters tall, stepped forward. His gaze fixed on Lawson with an intensity that sent a shiver down the commander's spine. "Who awakens us?" the warbeast demanded, his voice a deep rumble that echoed through the chamber. "Commander Jack Lawson of the Elysium," Lawson replied, meeting the warbeast's gaze without flinching. "The Galactic Council destroyed Earth 500,000 years ago. We've been waiting for the right moment to strike back." The warbeast nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "I am Kyle, leader of this unit. We were created for this very purpose." Harriet stepped forward, her eyes shining with hope. "With your help, we can reclaim our heritage and challenge the Council's tyranny." Kyle's eyes gleamed with a fierce determination. "Then, let us prepare. The time for vengeance is upon us." The warbeasts moved with a grace and precision that belied their size, their every action purposeful and deliberate. Lawson watched them train, his mind racing with possibilities. With these warbeasts at their side, humanity might finally stand a chance against the Galactic Council. One evening, as the warbeasts practiced combat drills, Cal approached Lawson. "We need more than just strength. We need a strategy." Lawson nodded. "Agreed. The Council's forces are vast and well-equipped. But we have the element of surprise." Harriet joined them, holding a holomap of a Council outpost. "This outpost is lightly defended. A successful strike here could send a powerful message." Kyle studied the map, his brow furrowed in concentration. "We will strike swiftly and decisively. The Council must know that humanity is not defeated." The plan was set. Under the cover of darkness, the Elysium approached the outpost. The warbeasts, now fully awakened and equipped, launched their attack with a ferocity that left the Council soldiers reeling. Explosions rocked the outpost as Kyle led the charge, his warbeasts tearing through defenses with ease. Lawson and his crew provided support, their precision strikes crippling key installations. The battle was swift and brutal. Within hours, the outpost lay in ruins, the Council's forces decimated. Kale stood amidst the wreckage, his chest heaving with exertion. "This is just the beginning," he growled, his voice filled with a fierce resolve. "We will reclaim what was taken from us." Lawson looked around at his team, their faces filled with determination. "We've made our first move," he said, his voice steady. "Now we need to build on this victory and rally our allies." Chapter 2: The Warbeasts Roar. The training bay of the Elysium echoed with the sounds of intense combat drills. Kyle, the towering leader of the Warbeasts, moved with a grace that belied his massive frame. His strikes were precise, each motion calculated for maximum impact. His unit mirrored his actions, their dedication unwavering. Commander Jack Lawson observed from a nearby platform, impressed by their skill. "These Warbeasts are incredible," he murmured to Dr. Harriet Voss, who stood beside him, her eyes fixed on the training session. "They're the epitome of human ingenuity," Harriet replied. "Genetic engineering, tactical training, and sheer willpower combined into formidable warriors." Kyle paused and turned his gaze towards Lawson. "Commander, we need to discuss our strategy." Lawson nodded, leading Kyle to the strategy room where Lieutenant Mark Darrow was already poring over a holographic map. "We've identified a lightly defended Council outpost," Lawson began. "A strike there would send a powerful message." Kyle studied the map, his eyes narrowing. "We must be swift and decisive. The Council cannot know what hit them." Darrow pointed to key points on the map. "Their defenses are minimal, but their communication arrays need to be taken out first to prevent any distress signals." "Agreed," Lawson said. "Harriet, you'll stay aboard the Elysium to monitor the operation and provide support if needed. Kyle, you'll lead the ground assault." As preparations were made, the tension on the ship was palpable. The crew moved with purpose, their resolve steeled by the presence of the Warbeasts. Lawson walked the corridors, offering words of encouragement, his mind focused on the mission ahead. In the armory, Kyle addressed his unit. "We fight for our future. For too long, we have been shadows. Tonight, we reclaim our strength." The Warbeasts roared in unison, a primal sound that reverberated through the ship. Under the cover of darkness, the Elysium approached the outpost, its engines humming quietly. Kyle and his team prepared to deploy, each Warbeast armed with advanced weaponry. As the ship hovered silently above the outpost, the bay doors opened, and the Warbeasts descended swiftly, their landing precise. Kale's voice cut through the night. "Take out the communication arrays first. Move!" The Warbeasts split into teams, their movements synchronized. Explosions rocked the outpost as the arrays were destroyed. Council soldiers scrambled, unprepared for the ferocity of the attack. Kale led the main assault, his unit cutting through defenses with lethal efficiency. Inside the command center, chaos erupted. The Council officers shouted orders, their panic evident. Lawson, watching the feed from the Elysium, could see the fear in their eyes. "This is it," he muttered. "Show them what we're made of." Kyle burst into the command center, his presence dominating the room. "Surrender, and you will be spared," he growled. One of the officers, a young woman with defiant eyes, stepped forward. "You can't defeat us," she spat. "The Council will crush you." Kale's expression hardened. "We are not here to negotiate. We are here to liberate." The officer's defiance wavered, and she glanced around at her fallen comrades. Slowly, she lowered her weapon. "What do you want?" "Your surrender," Kale replied. "And a message. Humanity is not defeated." Back on the Elysium, cheers erupted as the command center fell silent. Lawson turned to Harriet, who was monitoring the situation. "We've done it." Harriet nodded, her eyes bright with hope. "This is just the beginning. With the Warbeasts, we can turn the tide." As the Warbeasts regrouped and began their extraction, Kyle looked out over the battlefield. The outpost was in ruins, but the message was clear. Humanity had struck back, and their spirit was unbroken. Lawson met Kyle as they boarded the Elysium. You did well, he said, clasping Kale's arm. Kale nodded. This victory is a step forward, but we have a long way to go. Lawson smiled grimly. One step at a time. We'll make them pay for what they did to Earth. As the Elysium soared into the stars, the crew and the Warbeasts felt a renewed sense of purpose. Their first strike had been successful, but they knew that greater challenges lay ahead. The Council would not take this attack lightly, and retaliation was inevitable. In the quiet moments after the battle, Lawson gathered his officers. We need to prepare for what's coming. The Council will strike back hard. Darrow nodded. We've made our move. Now we need to stay one step ahead. Harriet leaned forward. We have the Warbeasts, and we have each other. We can do this. Kyle stood, his presence commanding attention. We fight for our survival, for our future. The Council will learn that humanity cannot be extinguished. The Elysium drifted silently above Novaterra, a planet that had once been a beacon of hope for humanity. Now, its cities lay under the oppressive shadow of the Galactic Council. Commander Jack Lawson stood at the observation deck, staring at the sprawling metropolis below. The time had come to rally the remnants of humanity and ignite the flames of rebellion. Prepare the shuttle, Lawson ordered, turning to his crew. It's time to meet our allies. The shuttle descended, cutting through the planet's atmosphere with a hiss. Beside Lawson, Kale, the Warbeast leader, observed the landscape with a steely gaze. His presence was imposing, a reminder of humanity's hidden strength. They landed in a secluded area, far from prying eyes. Awaiting them was a group of colony leaders, their expressions a mix of hope and skepticism. Lawson stepped forward, his voice steady and commanding. Thank you all for coming, he began. For too long, we've been scattered, living in fear. But now, with the Warbeasts by our side, we have a chance to reclaim our future. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, but there was also hesitation. One leader, a grizzled veteran named Marcus, spoke up. How can we be sure this isn't just another doomed attempt? We've seen rebellions crushed before. Kyle stepped forward, his eyes glowing with an inner fire. We are not just soldiers. We are humanity's legacy, forged for this very purpose. We will not fail. Marcus studied Kyle for a moment, then nodded. We will follow your lead, Commander. With the colony leaders on board, Lawson and Kyle spent the next few days strategizing. They traveled from colony to colony, rallying support. Each visit was a mix of triumph and tension as they faced both eager volunteers and wary skeptics. In a dimly lit meeting room on the colony of Seraphis, Lawson addressed a group of young resistance fighters. The Council believes they've broken us, but they underestimate our resolve. We are stronger together, united by a common cause. A young woman named Talia, with fire in her eyes, stepped forward. We're ready to fight. What's our next move? Lawson smiled, inspired by their determination. We strike at the heart of the Council supply lines, disrupt their operations, and weaken their hold on our worlds. As plans took shape, an unexpected betrayal threatened their efforts. During a critical strategy meeting, alarms blared. An encrypted message intercepted by their communication systems revealed a traitor among them. Someone has betrayed us, Harriet, the lead scientist, announced grimly. They've been feeding our plans to the Council. Tension gripped the room. Trust was fragile, and suspicion ran high. Lawson addressed his crew, his voice firm. We will find the traitor, but we cannot let this divide us. Our unity is our greatest strength. Investigations were swift and thorough. Eventually, they uncovered the traitor, a high-ranking colony leader who had been promised power by the Council. His capture was swift, his punishment severe. Kyle addressed the assembled leaders, his voice a resonant growl. Let this be a reminder. Trust is earned, and betrayal will not be tolerated. With a traitor dealt with, focus shifted back to their mission. They launched a series of coordinated strikes against the Council's supply lines. Each attack was precise, crippling the enemy's resources and morale. During one of these missions, Lawson found himself in a fierce firefight on the planet Epsilon 9. The Council's forces were stronger than anticipated, and the situation grew dire. Amidst the chaos, he saw a group of civilians caught in the crossfire. "Cover me!" Lawson shouted, dashing through the hail of gunfire to reach them. With the help of his team, he managed to lead the civilians to safety, demonstrating the very human qualities of courage and compassion that fueled their rebellion. As they regrouped, Kyle approached, his expression one of respect. "Your bravery inspires them, Jack. We need more moments like this to show our people what we're fighting for." The victories mounted, and with each one, more colonies joined their cause. The tide was turning, and hope began to flourish once more. In the command center aboard the Elysium, Lawson and Kale reviewed their progress. Maps and reports covered the table, a testament to their relentless efforts. "We've weakened their grip, but the final battle will be the hardest," Lawson said, his tone sober. Kyle nodded. "We are ready. We fight for our future, for our people." Lawson placed a hand on Cal's shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of their bond. "Together, we will reclaim what was taken from us." As the Elysium prepared for the ultimate confrontation, the sense of unity and purpose among the crew and their allies was palpable. The Council had underestimated the strength of a united humanity, and now they would face the full force of that resolve. The Elysium hovered in the void, cloaked in the shadows of a distant nebula. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, every crew member aware that this mission could change everything. Commander Jack Lawson paced the bridge, his mind sharp, ready for the challenge ahead. Kale and his Warbeasts stood ready in the cargo bay, their formidable presence a source of both awe and reassurance for the crew. Kale's eyes, glowing with determination, scanned the faces around him. "Today, we make history," he rumbled, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. "Our ancestors dreamed of this moment. We will not fail them." Lawson's voice cut through the tension. "Prepare for descent. This is it, people." The ship's engines hummed to life as they descended toward the Galactic Council's Central Command Station. The structure was a behemoth, bristling with defenses, yet Lawson's strategy relied on precision and surprise. As they approached, the ship's stealth systems cloaked them from the station's sensors. "Activate jamming signal," Lawson ordered. "Let's give them a little static." The Warbeasts and crew moved with silent efficiency, each knowing their role. Kale led his unit to the airlock, his imposing figure a beacon of strength. "On my mark," he instructed, hand poised over the release lever. The airlock cycled open, and the Warbeasts surged forward, their powerful forms blending into the shadows. Lawson and his team followed, slipping through the corridors with practiced ease. The initial resistance was light, caught off guard by the sudden incursion. "Commander, we're nearing the control hub," Lieutenant Mark Darrow reported, his voice calm yet urgent. Lawson nodded. "Keep moving. No time for delays." As they reached the central hub, the real battle began. Council soldiers, now alerted to their presence, poured into the room. The clash was fierce, yet disciplined. Lawson's team executed precise strikes, while Kyle and his Warbeasts fought with unparalleled ferocity. In the midst of the chaos, Lawson locked eyes with the council commander, a figure draped in imposing armor. The commander sneered, a cold, calculated malice in his gaze. "You think you can overthrow us?" Lawson stepped forward, determination etched on his face. "Not think, no." Their confrontation was swift. The commander was skilled, but Lawson fought with the desperation of someone who had everything to lose. His movements were a blend of strategy and raw survival instinct, each strike aimed with purpose. The room echoed with the sounds of battle metal clashing, energy blasts, and the roars of the Warbeasts. Kale, at the forefront, fought like a force of nature, his unit dismantling the council's elite guards. Suddenly, a high-pitched alarm blared. "Commander, reinforcements incoming." Harriet Voss shouted over the din, her fingers flying over her control panel. "Hold your ground," Lawson commanded, his voice unwavering. "We've come too far to turn back now." The fighting intensified. Lawson's crew and the Warbeasts formed an impenetrable line, their combined strength pushing back the council forces. The commander, realizing his imminent defeat, activated a concealed mechanism. The room began to tremble, lights flickering ominously. "He's trying to trigger a self-destruct," Cal growled, eyes narrowing. "Stop him!" Lawson yelled, pushing through the throng of soldiers. In a desperate bid, Lawson tackled the commander, their struggle a brutal testament to human resilience. With a final, forceful blow, Lawson disabled the mechanism, preventing the catastrophic explosion. The commander's body slumped to the floor, the fight drained from him. The battle ceased, the room falling into a tense silence. Lawson rose, his breath heavy, eyes scanning the faces of his team. "It's over," he announced, the weight of the moment settling in. "We did it." Cheers erupted from the crew and Warbeasts alike, their victory a hard-won triumph. Kyle approached Lawson, placing a massive hand on his shoulder. "You have honored your ancestors," he said, respect evident in his tone. Lawson nodded, a rare smile crossing his face. "We all have." As the team secured the station, a broadcast signal was sent out, declaring the fall of the Galactic Council's central command. Across the galaxy, human colonies erupted in celebration, their long-held dream of freedom finally within reach. Back on the Elysium, the crew gathered for a moment of reflection. Harriet, tending to the wounded, looked up at Lawson. "What now, Commander?" Lawson's gaze was distant, yet filled with hope. "Now we rebuild. We unite. And we ensure this never happens again." Cowell, standing beside him, spoke with quiet conviction. "We will stand guard, always."